It's funny how scary words can be, especially saying them out loud. For me, those words were, "I'm gay." They terrified me. I thought that if I said those words out loud, everything would change. And it did, but for the better. Because I learned that the things that I was scared of, I had control over. I thought coming out as gay meant I had to change parts of me that I didn't want to change. But I've since learned that I'm gay the same way my eyes are green. I learned that being gay doesn't necessarily have to affect my gender identity or my behavior. Here's what other people had to say about the stereotypes they've experienced as a member of their respective communities and how it coincides with their gender.
One that's really difficult, especially on Sackville, because it is like a very homogenous white space, is and also where I grew up, which is also a homogenous white space, because I'm from New Brunswick, would be things like oh, you're so pretty for a black girl, and people God, and people don't really realize that you're basically just saying that black people are ugly. It's also I don't want that compliment. It's I'd rather you just not say anything. Then it's be much easier.
How have you, since you come out as a gay woman, been stereotyped?
Wow. I think I actually went through a phase where I thought if I was gay and I wanted girls to like me, I had to look like a boy. And it took me a long time to realize that if you're gay and a woman, you still don't have to look like a boy. And I think I grew out of that phase, and I have been comfortable in my own clothing now. But I remember a solid 3 months where I was well, I guess I have to get my nose pierced now because I'm gay and I want everyone to know. And I remember telling a couple girls in my lab that I was going to get my nose pierced. And one of the girls who didn't know I was out yet and was very conservative, she said, "Which side are you gonna put it on?" I was "I don't know why." She's "Well, you have to be careful because if you put it on the left side, it means you're gay." And how I came out to her was, I was "Oh, so I should put it on the left side." And she's "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." I got a lot of grief from my friends back home when they saw that, in support of my other friend who's gay and really wanted to wear a bow tie to her final ASCRS. I wore a bow tie and a more masculine suit on stage, and I got a lot of pushback from my friends at home, being the first question I got when I came out to my parents was, "Are you going to transition?" And I'm "What?" And they're "Well, are you want to be a man?" I was "No, there's no way I want to be a man. Actually, the complete opposite." And it scares people in my hometown or my family when I dress like a boy or have more masculine features, or because they're "Oh, she's one step away from transitioning into a man," just because that thought is more comfortable of being a man and having a woman than actually being a woman and having a woman.
Yeah. What are some of the stereotypes that you face as a pansexual woman?
I think trying to date other women is not something that most lesbian women want to get involved with. If I've ever went on a date with any women, they've always been bi, so a little bit more they can relate a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think the biggest stereotype is that we're asexual. People have been amazed that I'm disabled and I've had boyfriends and girlfriends and I've dated people. It's assumed that you can't have kids or a dating life if you're disabled, which is not accurate because 1 in 7 people is disabled. The numbers just don't work out. But also friends of mine, one girl I know, her mother is a wheelchair user, and she had the girl on her lap as a little baby, and someone in the mall came up to them and tried to take away the baby, saying that she shouldn't be a mother. So I think there are a lot of stereotypes around being disabled and whether or not you can be a mother or if you can be a wife and fulfill those traditional types of womanhood. It was assumed if you couldn't fulfill those traditional roles, then you were useless, which is maybe not a role given to disabled men so much. But yeah, another thing is that anybody who's dating me is if it's a man, like he's doing some
A
like
favor.
great favor, yeah, a huge favor by like seeing beyond that. Which fuck that, I'm great, I love myself. Why would I?
Yeah, you're doing him a
be
favor.
a project. I'm not like
Yeah.
finishing some drywall. That's not the same thing. Or that if I'm dating a woman, it's that she's a caretaker, and like this is just a continuation of women wanting to be nurturers, which again is really messed up. Because you can, like as a woman, I could fall in love with someone else who's disabled, and sometimes you are going to be in caretaking roles, but that's with literally anyone. It's not just limited to us.
Yeah.
Like I think if you're falling in love with someone and you can't see beyond their levels of ability, there's something probably wrong with you.
The way you are every day, it's like
Okay,
it
yeah,
builds
yeah,
up.
yeah.
It's like a ripple.
The past, like the whole like Brock Turner's
Brock
term,
Turner.
like rape culture, like
Yeah.
all of those things, basically just like all of those things, like whether we realize it or not, when we're like, because we're in like the society and we're like social people, we're living with other people, like all of the things that you do and you say, like all of those things that you might not realize, or you think, oh, like that's only like slightly like racist, or like that's not a big deal, or like kind of thing. All of those things are a big deal because they like create a culture where like people like Brock Turner get off for 6 months, you know, or where they create a culture where like Trayvon Martin, you know, was shot because he looked like a hooligan or a gangster, even though he was a little kid going to get Skittles, or they create a culture where like, you know what I mean, 50 like queer people, you know, like die in a nightclub, and it's like people don't realize the fact that just being like, oh, that's sad,
It's not enough.
is not enough. You know, you literally have to think about, what am I doing that creates that kind of culture.
Just to bring it back to home here in Canada, like there are dozens upon dozens of missing and murdered Indigenous women. There are reservations within Canada where it's like third world within first world, which is, I don't understand. Like,
Yeah.
how is it possible that it stops right there and just like never moves on? You know, the progression, you know, the development.
And that's the thing. It's like the thing is like we're complicit in that. You know,
Yeah, we are.
You know, we still let people say things like, oh, Native people have, you know, like don't have to pay taxes. Oh, they're lazy. Oh, they're all on drugs. We still let people say things like
Yeah.
that. That's something that I've heard maybe like 7 or 8 times in the last semester, like from just people that I know on campus, and not like random horrible like swamp people. You know what I mean? Like regular people who walk around,
Educated.
like regular
Yeah.
educated individuals. You know what I mean? That's gonna make you angry, and that's why we're angry. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'm proud to be an angry.
I'm an angry
woman.
black woman every day of the week.
Every day of the week, and I'm
365
happy to
days
be
of the
because
year.
that means that I'm trying my hardest to, you know what I mean, to do something about that, and to do something about the things that are wrong in this world. And it's like, if being educated on these issues means that I'm going to be angry, then I will be angry
be it.
because I'd rather be angry than be ignorant. I think something really important is like, since we're in like a time of Donald Trump where everyone's talking about making America great again or whatever, and about how people used to say, why are things suddenly an issue when things weren't an issue before? And the reason for that is because before we didn't get to speak. We didn't have a voice, we didn't get to, nobody
Amen.
listened to us. What it is like, there was never not a problem. It's just like we just didn't get to voice it. We literally didn't have the means to voice it because of oppression. And now we have the means to voice it, and I'll be damned if I'm gonna shut up now because there's so
Never
many
shut
fucking
up.
problems.
Yeah, so many.
There's so many fucking problems.
Yeah, never gonna shut up.
With the camera. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, like, yeah.
Stayed in focus. Labels suck. And I hope that one day we don't need to hold up these signs, because labels can have a tendency to box people in. But if you use them properly, they can help change the world. I used to think that not talking about what makes me different was the way to make me the same. That if I didn't talk about my sexuality, I was helping create a world where what gender I prefer doesn't matter. But what I didn't realize was that I was feeding into a world where silence and oppression take reign. One day, I hope we don't need things like pride parades or movements like Black Lives Matter, because we'll all live equally. But for now, this world needs to hear as many voices as it can. Because like Maureen said, there's always been a problem. But now we have a voice, and I'll be damned if I'm going to be silenced. The decisions about what you stand for, who you stand with, where your voice is heard, how you identify, and the kind of energy that you put out into this world are yours to make. But the freedom to make those decisions that you receive when you are comfortable with who you are is irrevocable.